Who's doing that? Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Boom. This is another Write Once, Read Many. This time covering 27.3. Hey, Greg. As the audience participation reminder, it is what comedic and insensitive thing was Imp about to say at the end when she said, I'm Imp started, and then got cut off by people arriving. So hopefully people can imagine in their minds a fun Imp quip. Hey, Vic. Oh no, I gotta go do something real quick. It'll only take me a moment, but the music should tide people over. Perfect. Speed draw's still going, and I've barely overrun the song. Okay. So the themes for this chapter, obviously forgiveness is in there. I feel like there's something we haven't talked about that much, which is like Taylor taking big risks, but they're always calculated risks, and then other parahumans doing the same thing. Oh no, it's suddenly reversed. I'm used to looking at the normal image already, so the speed draw being the other way is actually what throws me off now. It only took like 10 minutes to set in. But you can see Amy getting a hug from Brandish, and you can see Mark's costume, most, like, funnily bad costume. Oh, my word. I forgot to turn off Discord notification sounds. Doop. Total Waffle Man, yeah. He reminds me so much. When Vic sent me this image just earlier, I had sent back a picture of the Chex Quest main character, who's like a corn Chex, as like a body. He looks so similar. Okay, left to right, Vic is saying, we see String Theory, Lab Rat, Marquis, and Acid Bath on the ground. And then, who do we have in the bottom left-hand corner who's got only a shoulder in frame? Um, okay, so fixes, I don't know, a teacher zombie. Interesting. Well, there's a good number of people. We could just say that's Galvanate. Yep. And I think Galvanate's power is pretty cool, but it's the kind of power I think that I'd be happy getting. A power where you can make yourself and others into like unstoppable metal. Kind of like welds. You make yourselves into a bunch of welds. Anyway. Doot. So yeah, like a forgiveness, and then like the calculated risks theme, and then I don't know. I'm sure that there were other themes, but those are the ones that jumped out at me. Anyway, so as was indicated at the end of the previous chapter, Taylor has gone to the prison to see Sophia. Vic says one of the themes is everyone finally working together. That's true. That's true. Most important theme of the book. Yeah. It's been implied by Wildbow that even if he had killed off Taylor at the much earlier point in the story, they would have just found a different way to do things. And I think it always comes down to just getting everyone to work together at the same time. So yeah, getting a whole bunch of extra people fighting against Scion is good. But anyway, so they meet up, and Sophia's a hater and still hates Taylor. And Taylor's getting like intermittent news sent to her, so before she talks to Sophia, she looks at her phone, and the estimated death toll at this point total is 500 million from all of Scion's flying around so far. So, couple people. And then Sophia starts the conversation talking about how Taylor's got a PRT phone, but it's like an even newer model than she used. And Taylor's playing things cool and brushing this off. And Sophia's trying to, like, be confrontational, of course, and expecting Taylor to be, like, lording stuff over her, I guess. But it's really just Sophia, like, self-lording. She keeps, being like, well, you're above me in these different ways. Kind of. That's how it feels, because she's like, the only difference between you and me is that they like you, and you're still useful to them, and whatever. And it's like, way to dunk on yourself over and over again. Let's see here. Taylor's saying how she didn't get in this for personal power, but the personal power does help her in what she's trying to do, which is to stop the end of the world. So she needed to pursue that. And Sophia sort of drops this idea at Taylor that she is only able to do what she's doing because of lessons she learned from Sophia. And this, of course, does actually get under Taylor's skin. Like in italicized text in her mind, she's taking credit. And then she's shocked but also annoyed. And this is when, Sophia starts like, smirking and stuff and being like, ha 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 ha. And then she comments on the fact that Taylor doesn't have the scar from when Sophia attacked her anymore. And then Taylor's just doesn't even remember which time it got healed away. She wasn't paying attention to that. You weren't important enough for me to remember, Sophia, she says metaphorically. And then Sophia hasn't checked on her family, so she doesn't know. Taylor says more or less the same. So they're both sort of Cape first, family second. And Sophia's saying that the biggest difference between them is that Taylor's dad cared, and admitting now that that's what had made her furious at the student-teacher meeting in Arc 5 when she, Emma, and Madison were confronted by the school to a certain degree. And so that kind of led to the revenge in the bookstore in Arc 6 as well. Like, theoretically, there was the Brian kiss, but I think it was a lot more about the student-teacher meeting. Anyway, and we get the confirmation that the person, the sort of mom figure, was a PRT person, because we already knew, of course, that Sophia's mom was not the person at that meeting. So they're sort of going back and forth, and she reads another piece of news on her phone. It says, Mordovia bubble hit, sleeper has been roused, last tracked en route to Zayan portal, casualties unknown. So we've heard a few times about how the sleeper should not be awoken, but we don't know what this means. He is in some way incredibly powerful. Anyway, so Sophia asks if the world's really ending, and Taylor says, scale, damage, repercussions, all worse than any Endbringer attack. They're predicting that maybe 500 million are dead already. And then Sophia doesn't react at all to that. She just says, too bad. Greg says, his power being terribly mysterious. Yeah, exactly. There's no going back. Yeah, so this is when Taylor, when she's saying that they're gonna try and fight back, then Sophia points out rightly that he beat Behemoth. And when Taylor says she was there, then Sophia gets annoyed. And then, there's a little bit more of a back and forth, and Sophia's whole point is that they're not gonna accomplish anything fighting against him, and that they should just run away to try and survive. And she compares them to cockroaches, which will become relevant not only because bugs, but also because, indeed, after this explanation of them as cockroaches scattering to attempt to survive, then an arc is called Cockroaches. So, you know, maybe some intentional planting and payoff type things are happening. Vic says, Sophia's like, stop rubbing it in that you got me sent to prison. Yeah. Okay, and then, so then Taylor tries to counter that she fought Leviathan. Sophia adds that she had fought Behemoth on a previous time, and that the difference between like a cape and an Endbringer is a lot different than the difference between cape and Scion. Although, ironically, I totally get what she means, like parahumans versus Scion. But because of the way that I awkwardly worded the sentence, technically Scion is a cape still, I think. Whereas the Endbringers aren't. But anyway, so I agree with her assessment, by the way. Obviously, Scion is an order of magnitude above the Endbringers. And they already had a hard enough time doing anything against the Endbringer. Yeah. We're vermin in comparison to them, but we're vermin that can take bites out of them. Get enough rats together and they'll take down a human, no matter how well equipped that human is. And then but cockroaches can't, I ask with a note of irony. Don't try to be clever, Hebert. It doesn't suit you. Oh, man. I do like this dialogue. Sophia is great here. She's so Sophia. I can see her annoying a lot of people, but I'm so... you know, I find her sort of shtick to be more, like, funny, sad than angering, I guess. And I think part of it is definitely just the difference of results. Like, she's not out here doing a jack slash on somebody or doing a bone saw on somebody. She just has like a shitty ideology and then kind of gets beat. And I also don't think that she'd be out there like, I don't know. She's just an order of magnitude less bad than the bad guys that I find really hateable. So she comes off as sad. And then they describe how Scion is a step above, like an echelon above the Endbringers in terms of power. And then, you know, she's saying again that they should all spread out and try to not get killed. But we kind of know as an audience that plan, in a literal sense, couldn't possibly work because of how the entities leave planets. They destroy all versions of the planet. So there's literally nowhere to run. And then let's see here. Taylor's sort of thrown off by this the way that Sophia's thinking. For her, it doesn't line up with what she expected and stuff. So she's feeling some new feelings and thoughts. Vic says, what if we just teleport the entire Earth? Easy. Wait. I mean, One, we'd be leaving all the other Earths to die, which is like like a large order of magnitude more people, I guess. But also, secondarily, once you teleport out of line with all the other ones, then everybody loses their power. So they got to do it right the first time. So no second chances there. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So, Taylor kind of confronts Sophia on the way she thinks about the world, says, I thought you were more focused on being superior to others. And then Sophia explains that she was superior to those others, and that it was about... she says that Taylor's also done this, leveraged power. Taylor agrees. And then Sophia sort of goes on questioning about how it maybe makes her arrogant or less forgiving of mistakes. Taylor admits that she was like that, and then that she also says that it may have even been a disadvantage to sort of act in that way of leveraging power over others, because it didn't give her an edge, and it never helped her in a critical moment, and it may have hindered her. Anyway, so then Sophia gets closer to the glass. I think she's like body languaging for Taylor to get close enough for her to do, spoilers, the thing later when she kicks the chair through the wall. So, good plan, Sophia. Bait her in. Let's see here. So, they continue sort of nudging each other back and forth. Sophia then calls Taylor a whiny bitch. And then Taylor says that she's got to figure out what she did wrong and change. And then, once again, Sophia digs into using the way that she sees the world to try and attack Taylor, saying that her biggest problem is that she never realizes her place. I almost had respect for you, she says directly. And then accuses her once again of copying. Taylor's just a copycat, actually. She has no persona of her own and has just been trying to be Sophia this whole time, obviously. And then Taylor's has a little frank set of thoughts with herself where she admits to herself that she was fine being like, yeah, I learned how to be all fucked up and crazy from Bakuda and Jack and Purity and Coil and Accord. So, 5 pretty bad people. But then she's like, ugh. But imagining that Sophia that she affected me, like, ugh. Ugh. Doolin noises. Anyway, so, then she realizes, she's like, okay, maybe the reason that it's so awful to me is because it's partly true. Vic says, none of which are nearly as bad as Sophia. Sophia in all caps. Yeah, Jack, not nearly as bad. I even feel like there's a big, like there's an order of magnitude gulfs. In fact, I think that she classified them in the right direction. It's from largest to the smallest. It's like Jack is by far the worst, but Bakuda's like in a near par where if she just could go around, she would just endlessly kill people. Then Purity, racist and kills people. And then next level down, Coil and Accord, shitty and kill people, but not racist. So like, and then at the bottom, she finally admits Sophia, who, if we're being real with each other, is probably not even as bad as Coil and Accord. But she just makes Taylor want to barf more. But she hates that she is a tiny piece in Sophia's internal mental justifications of all this bullshit. Vic says, Coil is definitely a little racist. He's too rich not to be. Okay, I'm not saying Coil and Accord aren't racists, and in fact, because of his gender essentialism, I kind of feel almost certain that Coil has, that Accord also has, racist tendencies, probably, because, I don't know, when you have, when you have, a broad thing, like gender essentialism, usually you've got other stuff in the mix. It all kind of goes together. Anyway, my point is, that Purity is a fucking Nazi, and although she says, "Oh, I am not down with the cause," she also uses publicly phrases like genetically pure, and it's like, I don't know, sounds like you're just as much of a Nazi as all the other Nazis. So I do consider Purity on a different level up. I mean, if we want to be real, Bakuda is definitely also racist from on-screen interaction. She's really weird about Lung and herself both being half Japanese, half Chinese. So, yes. And I mean, Taylor's got some dicey stuff going on with just with the way that the beginning of the book is written, and everyone is instantly race called out, and I get it because of where she grew up and the circumstances of the city where people might be in different gangs, but it stands out to readers. And all that said, much as there's a hierarchy of capes, and then 2 rungs up Endbringers, and then 2 rungs up Scion, there is also a relative hierarchy of racists, and Purity is far, far and away above these other people. Boop, 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 boop. Taylor tries to think about how the best revenge is living well, but she's not really above being petty, and then also she thinks and I can't rely on living well because I'm not doing that either. Fuck. And she admits to herself that the way she's viewing the situation now, she's just openly saying to herself, my dad was dead. She still hasn't checked, because she can't handle checking, but she's pretty sure. And then, she, looking down at her bloody gloves, she tries to, describe to Sophia why she's there. She says that they're letting prisoners out, and that the decision makers on who should be forgiven are, because they're capes, and because of the like short time frame around this, are the capes who fought against them, basically, and the victims, the most direct victims of their actions. So she more or less lays out that the Brockton Bay wards gave their go-ahead for Sophia to be released, and that the Undersiders are putting all their votes on Taylor. So this is the deciding factor whether or not she's released. I do like this thing that Imp had said, that she doesn't elaborate to Sophia. She's fucking useless, and she shot my brother. Bitch isn't worth having about being shot in the back with a crossbow. I like that that's considered her words of suggestion. Vic says, I can't believe Canary's ex-boyfriend forgave her. Or maybe he's just... yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. I don't think that he forgave her. And I also think that the birdcage release victims are more like balancing out how good they think the powers are, and if Dragon had given the go-ahead before, well, the, like, they're a better prisoner type thing. Because, like, I don't think Acid Bath's victims forgave him and said he could get out either. Sophia's mad. She's making it a popularity contest. And I actually agree with this method overall, because it's like they have to do something that's quick and dirty to get people out in time to actually fight. But also, like, you can't just read a file and kind of tell really what somebody's going to do. Like, not that there's any guarantee in what's happening, like, now, but I think this is the best middle ground of being like, hey, people who hate this person, do you think it's worth releasing them so that they can maybe help save the world? And a lot of them, it's a difficult decision probably for a lot of them, but I do think that this is very vibes based on whether you think they'll betray the cause or anything. So they got to get people who maybe have some idea. Anyway, moving along. Sophia expects Taylor to be like, you have to beg me, and then she's like, no, I don't need you to beg me. And then but she does say, like, she knows that it's clear that she killed that she's killed people, and then Sophia's like, yeah, so do you. And then they sort of agree that either one of them might have the higher body count. And they both hurt people. And then Sophia's saying more than her, and that she wasn't even subtle about it, and then lists out her public crimes about taking over the city, etc. And then Taylor adds in one, extorting the mayor and unlawfully imprisoning people. And then this is when she's like saying that the only difference between us, even though I already said the only difference between us earlier, this is also the only difference between us, is that it's who's more useful and who has power and stuff. And then Sophia herself says that she became more trouble than she was worth, but, like, the thing about her, like, being more trouble that, Vic says, the second only difference, exactly. The thing about her being more trouble than she was worth is, even if someone like Regent had control over her or whatever, and she had to move to a different city, if she wasn't already so much of a problem, then she would have been shuffled to another city. Like, the United States is a big place. and there's a lot of wards teams to join. But it's because she was constantly a problem for them that she wasn't worth the trouble. So it's like, literally, she is describing the accurate truth that she wasn't worth the trouble, but she ascribes it to not having a powerful enough power, essentially, which is just not the case. It's because she was an antisocial fuck-up who, like, made her problems everybody else's problems and wouldn't work on a team. Like, I don't know. Taylor's kind of a huge team player when it comes down to it. Like she is willing to put herself on the line all the time for the mission, for other people. It's not really what Sophia was like. So anyway, and, you know, Taylor's saying this stuff too, but I just think it's worth saying. It's not just Taylor's opinion. I strongly feel that Taylor is correct in this assessment and have even more to say about it than Taylor does. Sophia asks what other kind of qualities, likability, substance, respect, trust, and Taylor's like, yeah, those kinds of things. Bullshit. You think you're more likable than I am? Fuck that. This is an incredible conversation. You and I were the same. Man, no, Sophia. And then she's like, you run? That was you trying to emulate me. It's like, no, I was trying to build up endurance to be a cape, and it's like, no. You're just copying me again. Biting my style is all you do. That's your day job. And then so then there's, kind of hard to like speed through this conversation because they're kind of like back and forthing so much, and each line interlocutes well with the previous line, etc. But yeah, so Taylor is talking about how maybe like being a cape just necessitates you move toward like at least slightly toward that model that Sophia had. And then Sophia says, being a person, dealing with reality. And then Taylor does get off if I was like you, I was better at it than you were, went further, tested the limits more. And that also clearly pisses off Sophia. And she finishes with, and I think it's a pretty shitty way to exist. But then she gets another notification on her phone. They have about 1.5 hours before the planned counterattack is going to be lined up, and they're testing some ability combinations and stuff. And then Taylor's been requested for administration, like for her bug thing where she tells everybody what to do at speed even if the comms are all down. And then Sophia asks if she's going, and Taylor says yeah. Sophia says that she doesn't, it's not that she'd rather flee, it's what she thinks they should all do. Taylor asks her to convince her to let her free. Then after asking to be convinced, she says, fuck it, let the world burn. We'll all be better off. No pretension, no fakery, none of the tradition. Hit the reset button. Whoever's left will pick things up later. And then after saying, sounds like what Jack said, we get a, fuck you, Hebert. Then when Taylor's saying she's gonna leave, and that Sophia's just gonna be here waiting for Scion to kill her, and wipe out the facility she's in, etc. Then Taylor notices some change in her body language and stuff, likens it to Rachel, and then she says the one thing Sophia really doesn't want to hear. You're afraid. And of course, this makes Sophia mad again, as all things do. And we get a, fuck you, Hebert! You're afraid and you're hiding it behind a very good mask. Fuck that! I hate that fakery. That false face bullshit. You said we're alike. You're right. We're both very good at putting on a front. There's a difference between acting and being. I'm not faking anything. Sophia rules. And then, you know what? I'm just gonna keep reading out some of the back and forth. Yet you refuse to do anything to deviate from your path. That's why you're so big on sticking to your place. If you never budge, you never have to risk seeing if the mask comes off. Vic says, in the voice of Sophia, I'm not anything like you. We're the same. Oh man, it's so funny. She's just back and forth and back and forth. It's very, very moment to moment. Whatever suits her argument. Oh, fuck the hell off, Hebert. You sanctimonious, know-it-all orphan bitch. I mean, she emphasizes orphan more, but I kind of let it roll. She'd pick the orphan bit to hurt, to get a rise out of me. Yet, I felt okay. Hurt? Yes. I felt something deep and important missing. And I wasn't quite ready to let that emotion, to feel that emotion in its entirety. To hear the word in full, or see the body, and know my dad was gone. Dude, I love Taylor. I should have put compartmentalization on the list. She's stone cold. That's on my themes. I just wasn't thinking about it when I was on that section. Anyway, Greg quotes the incredible, beautiful video game Sonic Adventure 2 battle and says, Faker, I think you're the fake. You're not even good enough to be my fake. Sophia is both Sonic and Shadow in that conversation. Well, I hadn't even really thought of that. Wildbow pulls inspiration from the most incredible of places. Anyway, so she thinks her way around having too bad of a reaction to being called an orphan. In deep inside her, she's hearing the song "I've Got Hurt Feelings," but on the surface level, she's like, no act, no mask, me, and I was okay. Thank you, Sophia. I feel a hell of a lot better than I did before this meeting. I don't know if... Loser! I love that she's still just, spitting insults. It's funny, too, that the guard is, gonna take her away. And then, she's, saying... she's not sure if they're similar. She's going to be Taylor again, not hide behind the Skitter or Weaver personas. And then, Sophia yells, fuck you, and then does a special secret technique that she's been developing in jail this whole time. She used to have tons of fighting techniques and stuff, and now her alt is... to hit you with a folding chair, just slightly. She does a movement so that her cuffs are on one section of her arms and then fall to past a like thinner section of her arms so that they're not touching her while she briefly uses her power and uses it on the chair that she's also touching to kick it through the glass, and then it hits the chair that Taylor's in, and the chair that Taylor had been sitting in, that she's standing behind, and then that chair slightly hits Taylor's shin, and she's like, "Ah, you slightly hurt my shin." Oh man, she had to use her ult to deal 1 damage. Pretty sad stuff. And then, the guard is holding down Sophia and pressing the handcuffs into her skin so that she can't use her power again, etc. And then we get, is this the real you then? Oh my god, you pretentious cunt! I'm gonna break you! And then, after these various outbursts, we get, take a minute or two to calm down, breathe. If you can relax, if you can look me in the eye and promise you won't hurt me or anyone else, I'm gonna give the go-ahead for you to leave. And then Sophia and the guard are both completely shocked, and the guard says, "You're joking." Oh man, I love this scene. And then and then Taylor is trying to be like even keeled here. Offers open just a little bit longer, Sophia. I want to take some time to get ready, and if you're coming, you'll need the same. And then she thinks about thinks some stuff, but then single word paragraph, italicized, afraid. I feel like the single word italicized, it feels like it's somewhere between a natural insight and her like cape sense. I don't know if you guys also, if anyone else has a feeling on that, but especially with like knowing more about it later, it's like she can read other capes in a similar way to how Jack can, with like background insight that she doesn't even know she's tapping into. So it's like a combination of her power and her better judgment of people over time. Vic says, after that pretentious bit, I would have not joined Taylor to save the world. That's funny. But then after the self-insight, afraid, she says to Sophia, I'm not asking you to fight Scion. Just doing search and rescue would be fine. It's not safe, but... And then Sophia finally relents. Will you shut up? Fuck, I'll do it if you stop prattling at me. Look at me in the eyes and promise you won't fuck with me. And then she glares as though her eyes were a promise of vengeance. And then she says, I promise. And then when she agrees with body language for the guard to let her go, and the guard says, your funeral. I'll go take her to the back and get her ready. And then Taylor's like, we've got powers, lady. And then she calls down 2 doormaker doors, one that's on her side of the glass and one that's on Sophia's. And then they go through. And she thinks maybe it's a bad decision, etc., but she feels fine with it. And then she says, I'm not scared of her anymore, in her mind. Again, italicized. And then we get a page break, as we often do on these later book, longer chapters. I feel like the page breaks early in the book were like really conscious most of the time, and not that I think that they're not conscious here. I just think that Wildbow feels more comfortable using them, which is probably good because it's okay to have multiple different scenes in the same chapter. It's not a problem. And then they're at the battleground, and it says that the sky is overcast, and there's dust and such in the air, and she's actually at sunrise wherever they are now, and that she's really thrown off because she's been teleporting across time zones so much. And then the sky is red because of all the particulates in the air, even though she says the sun's been rising for a while. And then there's also clouds that are almost like black in the sky. Vic is saying, instead of a page break, you can just say, "Meanwhile, back at the ranch." I have been reading a book with multiple involved ranches, and no one has said that so far. It has been yet to be said. Although, it's unclear to me if this book was written far enough ago that wasn't a cliche yet, because I don't know when that came into parlance, and these were written in the 40s and 50s, so... anyway. I was thinking of the ranch-based book, because in that, they'll, like, skip to the next day within, like, 2 sentences, and we'll just already be on the next day, and it's fine. And they don't need to do a page break or anything. I think the page break works with the formatting of this book and how they don't usually hand wave away, like, that much time. Like, if they're walking somewhere, it's usually so that we can have a conversation on the way. Anyway. Yes, so it's quite cold. Taylor's feeling all the heat leach out of her. There's a whole bunch of capes. She says perhaps 60. She's not using her bugs to feel up the place. She's got all of her bugs on herself so that they can absorb her body heat so that they don't stop functioning. For those who don't remember, bugs are, generally speaking, cold-blooded. Many bugs don't have blood, but the way that the term typically applies kind of works. They need outside warmth to keep going. Oh, I remember. It's the endothermic versus ectothermic. They're on the same portion of that sliding scale as cold-blooded animals. Yeah, so Rachel shows up, and she, she can tell that Taylor's cold, so she puts the coat on her without asking. And then Taylor glances at her and nods her approval. And thanks. Vic says, Taylor puts them in her mouth just to keep them warm. It's necessary. Oh no. Now I'm thinking of another book where a person keeps putting something in their mouth. Stupid Sky Daddy. I was thinking of she's got her little bit of the 747 exterior that she keeps messing with. Like a real freak. And of course Vic would remind me of that book. The world's largest proponent of that book. So yes. With all the bugs warming on her, then she's sitting there, and aside from Saint's group of 3, everyone who had been at the Cauldron meeting are there, and it says also innumerable others who hadn't been at the meeting. And portals are opening, and people are walking in, and then Weld, gives with his Boston accent, long time. That's right. That's my Boston accent now. He says that for Sophia, and Sophia, she says back a hey chief, which is like almost more, I don't know, I expect her to just be maximum hostile at all the times, so even just a neutral response like that is like, wow, Sophia, you're already making progress. And Weld grabs her handcuffs off her hands and sort of slurps them into his hands. And then he says not to cause any trouble because people are already on edge. And then Weld walks away. So Sophia's still like solo, very sad. Vic had said earlier, had laughed, and then also said, sponsored by Skydaddy. Yes, all future editions of this are sponsored by the novel Skydaddy. They have paid me off. That's why I keep talking about it. It's not because I like the book, it's because I'm on the dole. So, Taylor and Rachel and stuff and Imp walk over to Tattletale and, they leave Tattletale alone. Gru's keeping a distance, and they notice where Bonesaw is, and now that she's over near Imp, she can hear Imp talking. No more malls. No more going shopping. No more reality TV. No more stupid boy bands to make fun of. What are you doing? I asked. Talking about everything I'm going to miss. I'm trying to start from the outer edges and work my way toward the biggest stuff. Work up my courage to say, you'll miss us? I asked. You're so full of yourself. It's so sweet. I was gonna say, those creepy little kids who look way too much like their big brother, I'll miss them way more than I should. I'd miss them more than I'd miss you. And then, she affectionately tries to pat Imp's head, basically, and then sits down next to, she misses, because Imp scoots out of the way. And then she sits next to Rachel and Bastard, and she feels mentally on edge, which is also represented by her feeling like she's at the edge of a physical cliff, and like the breathing of Bastard might knock her over the edge. She's not wearing her flight pack, so she couldn't save herself. And probably someone could go grab her. But let's be real, that'd be pretty embarrassing to be like, I got knocked over the edge of the cliff by accidentally sitting too close. Vic says, honestly, maybe her personality has been affected by being unable to use her powers for 2 years. Oh. Huh. Sophia, you mean, right? Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, maybe even just the lack of use, but usually a lot of the times the powers like try and find a way to get you to use them, I guess. Vic says, yeah, she's only been able to do that one little trick. Yeah, that's probably the only, like, power outlet she has. So she's not using it, so she's maybe not getting in the mindset. Breakers especially seem to have more of a mental alteration. Yeah. I agree. It's definitely worth noting. I hadn't thought of it that way before. So yes, Rachel says, I don't have a lot. Haven't ever had much more than I could take with me when I left home. Or if I left home. I had money, but that was just a number I couldn't really follow on a computer I didn't have. I always liked that. That was just a number I couldn't really follow on a computer I didn't have. You have something now. Yep. And then, Rachel says she doesn't want to lose it. Any of it. And then Taylor starts a thought, an italicized thought of and it's probably like, I didn't want to lose blank, but whatever she was going to say, she couldn't even bring herself to it. Damn it, Rachel. Don't say that. Don't remind me. I thought of my dad, of my mom, though that was a wound I thought I'd healed. I thought of my hometown, which wasn't quite home anymore. I thought of my pride, my mission, neither of which I quite had anymore. Yeah, Taylor's only, like, remaining stuff is her, like, links to other capes and the nebulous thought of saving people, which is, like, you know, a powerful idea, but it's different than, like, I've got to save the people of the docks, or my people, or, like, I've got to defend Chicago, or whatever the case may have been on a smaller scale, more, like, tight thing. Now it's just an incredibly nebulous, like, I've got to save the people. And Taylor's like, oh no, I'm crying, and everybody's gonna see me crying. And she starts apologizing, and Im says, why the fuck are you sorry? And she's like, oh, I feel sad. And then Im's like, yeah, it's normal to feel sad right now. And then Taylor's like, normal. I've been thinking of myself as being off kilter, totally out of control, unreasonable, and irrational. Maybe these are just human emotions. And then she thinks about, like, when did I sort of become like this? And then she thinks about her connection to her passenger, and then goes, oh man, I think I did this myself and convinced myself it was my passenger. Because Taylor needs to introspect more. Lamau. Lumfow. And then, yeah, she starts thinking some basic introspective thoughts, such as, why? What was it all for? And then she's like, okay, I've got to remaster myself. No one outside of Aisha and Rachel can know that I was crying. That's illegal. And then she sort of like level sets again, where she's like, wait, I've been mad at these people for, like, still caring about secret identities, but I myself am still carrying around this compulsion to seem strong, etc., and to, like, care about my reputation. And she decides that she does need to be Taylor again, like she had told Sophia, and that she needs to feel her emotions, even if it's public. Oh my god. Can you believe this? And then Rachel gives her a hug, and it's so sad. Well, it's sweet, but it's also so sad. And then this does make her feel better. And then she settles in for the hug and doesn't resist it or anything. And then once she stops crying on her own, then she asks how Gru is doing. And then Imp basically is like, you just go over, he's right over there. And then she's like, I'm not going to go over there. And then Imp tells him that Cozen's still alive, and because of other deaths in the Red Hands, then she's now the leader. The guy who died above her was Rook. He was the leader, I guess. I had sort of remembered that she wasn't the leader and became the leader, but before this reread, I did not know that the name of the person was Rook. And then Taylor sort of thinks about the state of the world, whether being a thief even matters when the world is being destroyed. Although I think she's underestimating the amount of thievery that will be done in the post-apocalypse. Then this is when Imp says, "I'm," and then it gets cut off. Someone in the crowd yells, "Ready!" And then they all do get ready. They begin to open the portals from the birdcage, and all the birdcage prisoners who are allowed to leave, they leave. Someone asks if it's safe. They basically, someone says the security precautions they take. Then Imp says, "You didn't answer the question." "No, it's not safe. These guys are assholes." Which I think is mostly correct. And then the guy who had said the middle thing had turned to be mad at them, but then Imp uses her power, and he sort of forgets that he was mad at them. It's another Imp comedy moment. And then Taylor's thinking about everybody who's coming out of here. She's read up on all the prisoners, of course. She's a big nerd who loves homework. And then she describes each of the people. There's Gavel. There is Lustrum. And she thinks about how her mom had been like a low-key follower of Lustrum at one point. Just in a very distant way. Just as Lustrum was like a cultural figure rather than like in a minion way. And then there's Crane, the Harmonious, who goes over to be like,